Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how I paint Ultramarines in my shiny metallic scheme from start to finish. Subscribe to my channel for more videos of my hobby projects as I do them. Hope you enjoy. Okie doke, so today we're going to paint some of the squad of the Assault Intercessors that came with the Indomitus box set. I'm going to paint them up in my Ultramarines metallic blue scheme that I've done the rest of my army in. It's quite I do it for two reasons. I think it looks really nice, a bit unique, stands out from the other Ultramarine armies. Plus it's a bit quicker, in all honesty. The metallics, it's just easier to highlight, much less time edge highlighting and things like that, and I can just get the army out onto the tabletop much quicker. Okay, so I've just assembled them, primed them with the Chaos Black undercoat spray, and then we're good to lay down the first coat of paint, really. So for that I use, this is MIG Jimenez Ammo series, and it's the metal acrylic colour, and I think it's rubbed off the name. Whoops, the name of the paint was there, but I think it was just called metallic blue. But I think it's I've looked on the internet. It's called, I think it says Warhead Metallic Blue. So yeah, have a look for that if on the net, it's still available. So with it being a metallic paint, give it a good shake. Mix all those metallic flakes in. Righto. So I've got my airbrush here and ready and waiting. So I'll get some airbrush flow improver. Put a little bit in the cup. And some of my, whoops, it's a bit messy. Just clean the nozzle of the dropper pot. Okay, we'll drop a few blobs in there. How does that look? Mix that up. Seems to be spraying alright. See how it goes down onto a model. Just get my painting handle so don't get it all over my hands. And then I'll keep it on a fairly low PSI and quite close to the model so it doesn't and just slowly rock back the trigger and start to coat it on and all over the armour and the helmets. Getting all them cracks and crevices. You can paint this paint on with a standard brush, you don't have to use an airbrush. It works fine. Let that one dry a minute and we'll start on another one. Okay, now these are ready to go for the next stage, which will be giving them an all over coat of non-oil gloss, and with this paint being quite shiny it'll just run into all the cracks and deeper parts of the model nice and easily. Right, so let's get some on. A wash brush here from Citadel. I don't think they do these anymore. Well, they might do, but it doesn't look like that anymore. It's an old one. And then start whoops, putting them all over the models. All over the blue, wherever the blue armour is. That's where we're going to put it. Doesn't matter if you get it on the other bits. So we're just going to apply it quite liberally all over the model. And then just check for pooling on the flats where we don't want it. Just use the brush to suck up any pooling and apply it somewhere else. Like there, for instance, on the shoulder pad, I got a lot there. Okay, so now I'm going to start to edge highlight my Space Marines with Dura-Luminium by Vallejo Metal Colour. And I'm also going to block in all the silver parts, so the blades, bits on the chainsword, backpack, things like that, and anywhere else where I think there's silver. Right, so let's get some of this. So it's got an agitator, so give it a good shake to mix all the metallic flakes, and then put some on my palette. Get my fine detail brush. It's a Zero brush by Winsor & Newton. It's my old battered one, this one is. I keep me another one that's for best stored away. Rightio. So get some of that on the brush. Very, very liquidy, this paint, so you don't need too much of it. And then yeah, just start to pick out those extreme edges. Just like all the places that you would do normally if it was a standard blue Space Marine rather than metallic. All the edges in there. And the knee pad. So yeah, I'll do all the edges. I'll do little like little curved lines on the knee pads and the round areas like that. More paint on my brush. I also do a curved line at the top of the shoulder pads. Well, not curved, it's a straight line, but the shoulder pad itself is curved, if you know what I mean, like that. Yeah. Just go around the miniature. Okay, so now it's time to do the gold details. So you can see I've done all the edge highlighting in silver and base coated the silver parts, weapons and stuff. So yeah, so for the gold parts, I'm going to give them a coat of Vallejo metal colour copper, and then just start to blot in all the gold parts. So that will be the shoulder pads, the detail on the left wrist, and the chest eagle as well. Right, all the gold parts are blocked in. So next is I'm going to do all the gun parts. So the hilt of the chainsword and the blade, not the teeth, but the other bit, and then the body of the gun, and then also the little ribbed parts in between the body armour, like the little hosing or whatever it's called. I'm going to block all that in with Eshin Grey, my Citadel. So I'm doing it grey instead of black, so I can put a wash on. Just a nice quick way of adding some interest to the gun parts and the hosing. So yeah, I'll just do the all the gun parts carefully. Might take a couple of coats with this paint. It's quite doesn't cover as well as the metal colour paints do over the shiny blue. So definitely gonna need a couple. So yeah, I'll do them. The guns, the blade down here, and then all of these parts. Okay, so all the grey, the weapons, and the hosing's done in with the Eshin Grey. So next I'm going to get Dryad Bark by Citadel, and I'm going to paint all the gun holster and the pouches for grenades or whatever else he's got on him, and the one on the front there. So paint all of that. Again, this is probably going to take a couple of coats, I would say, to get over this shiny metal. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, there's actually been a fair few months in between this part and the last part, so I've had a new desk, as you might be able to see. I'm in a new room. Right, anyway, let's crack on. What did I do last time? Oh yes, I've done the grey parts and the brown parts of the models, the pouches and the grenades and everything. So now it's time to colour in the last few parts, really, the last few base coats. So that will be the purity seals, so the seal itself and the little oath script. So for that I'm going to use Ushabti Bone from Citadel for the scroll, and I'm going to use Warlord Purple by Vallejo Game Air for the actual seal itself. And then the last other thing to do is on the Sergeant, I've actually already highlighted his head and everything in blue, but he's supposed to be red with him being an Ultramarine, so I'll have to base coat that with a metallic red by Ammo of MIG. So get a couple of coats on that on, and then just basically highlight just the same with silver, and then we'll go from there. Righto. So first do shop T-bone, and then we'll just base coat the scrolls on all the models. Use Warlord Purple for the seal itself. It's kind of a pinky purple, this one. But I can't remember what the Citadel equivalent is called. It used to be called... Oh, what did it used to be called? I can't remember now. But I don't have it, unfortunately. I use this one a lot, it's quite good. So yeah, just base coat that in. So yeah, just do a few coats. This one's super thin, unfortunately, though. The Citadel one would be better. This is made for an airbrush. So we'll have to do a few coats to get that covered, to be honest. And I'll do the metallic red. Just show you how this goes on. It goes on quite well. So I'll get the sergeant. And just base coat his bonds. Right, now that's all dried. All the purity seals are painted up, so it's time to put some washes on it now. So I'm actually going to do a big wash over most of it with Nuln Oil by Citadel. I'm going to go over the gun, over the silver, all over the chainsword, all over the pouches, all over these silver little vents on the backpack, and then on the in between the armour parts there, all the grey that we did in the arms and wherever else it is. So yeah, we'll do that first, and I'm just going to paint this over pretty much everything, to be honest, all the guns and everything. We'll just add some depth and definition to the weapons. Don't be shy, slap it on. And onto the weapon pouch and the little utility pouch. Got a bit too much on the brush there. Just dab it onto my kitchen towel and get rid of it. Use my brush to suck up the excess. Then we'll put some into these little hosing parts, I don't know why I keep calling it hosing, I don't know what the name is for it. And all of these vents. And then we get some of the Agrax shade. Nice brown wash. We're going to put this over the purity seal and the scroll coming down from it. All over. Okay, before we move on to the highlighting, there's just one more wash, kind of, which is going to be for the gold there. So I sometimes use, well, I used to use Reikland Flesh Shade to wash gold to make it a nice orangey warm colour. You can use Agrax Earth Shade as well, which is a bit more of obviously a browner recessed shade. But I've started using the contrast version of Reikland Flesh Shade, which is Fire Slayer Flesh, and yeah, this works pretty well, I must admit. So you have to give it a good shake, make sure all the stuff at the bottom, this sort of, I don't know what it is, the medium stuff, make sure that's mixed in, and then just get some of this straight out of the pot. Don't need to thin it. I found it works pretty well as is, really. And then just paste it onto all the paste, I don't know why I'm pasting it, paint it onto all the gold parts. It really is a nice warm, like deep brassy orange colour. Right, I'm going to start the first highlighting stage now, which will be to highlight all the gold on the armour. So for that, I'm going to use Retributor Armour by Citadel, a nice yellowy gold. And I'm just going to edge highlight all the shoulder pad, and then the chest eagle, and then this little cross, skull and cross thing on his wrist. So I usually start with the shoulder pad, with it being a little bit easier. Just use the side of the brush to pick out the edges. Whoops. Cut the shoulder pad then. Do the inside edge. Do that like that on both sides, and I'll just pick out the more raised parts of the skull, the little studdy bits. Around the edges. Like so, and leave the nice deep orange in the middle, and then move on to the chest eagle. I'll do the around the skull, pick out the raised parts, and then do the wingy bits. We start with the top, and then try my best to pick out these little ones. These are quite not very pronounced, so it's easy to make a mistake. Just go slowly and carefully. And then I'm going to highlight the pouches next. So for that, I'll get some Gorthor Brown from Citadel. And then the same again, just pick out the edges with your brush. Around the pouch. And all over the gun case holder, whatever it's called. It's hard to pick out the little lid on it, so you have to just use the tip of your brush very carefully rather than the edge. Like so. Next, I'm going to highlight the dark parts of the weapons, so the chainsword and the gun, and for that I'll be using Mechanicus Standard Grey by Citadel. And before I move on to that, I should probably show you the Sergeant's header. I painted it red now. I did it what I said before, so the MIG metal acrylic colour, metallic red, and then just the same as the blue I used Null Oil gloss, and then I actually highlighted with the silver like I did on the blue panels, but I didn't like the look of it. It didn't look quite right with the red, so what I've done is actually highlighted with the orange version, metallic orange by acrylic colour metal by MIG. So I prefer the look of that, to be honest, so I've gone with that. So right, so anyway, that's enough of that. Let's move on to highlighting the weapons. So Mechanicus Standard Grey, and just work my way along all the edges of the weapons using the side of the brush. And on the gun as well. Right, onto the last couple of highlights. I'm just going to highlight the scroll and the purity seal, and then we'll move on to the eye lenses. If you wanted to take the highlights further, you could, like I've just done one grey highlight there, and you could take it up a notch, like on the brown. You could move up to beam blade brown for a more fine, even more fine highlight on the pouches and things, but I usually reserve that for characters. I don't bother with the troop grunts, to be honest. Just want to get them done and on the battlefield. Okay, so for that I'll use a bit of Pink Horror from Citadel for the seal itself, and then the scroll, some Screaming Skull. Okie dokes, let's start with the Screaming Skull. So I just sort of follow the pattern that the Agraxia Shade Wash has already put down for me, really, and just put some little lines in the edges and in the middle, and the raised parts. And that's it, really. Sometimes on the characters I'll put a little squiggle for little black squiggles as if it's writing on there, but I won't bother with these troops. A little bit of Pink Horror next. Just put a little bit of this around the edge, and a small amount in the middle, and that's it. Okay, eye lenses next. So for that I've got a range of colours here. First I'll paint the eye sockets themselves, the lenses, in Abaddon black. Then I will paint within that with corn red, leaving a bit of the black showing, and I'll paint a smaller portion of it in Mephiston red, or Mephiston, I don't know how you pronounce it, and then even smaller part Wild Rider red, and then a little dot of white scar in the opposite corner to create like a lens effect. And then for the Sergeant, it's the same process, black first, except he's got a red helmet, so that's done in green. So I've started with War Flesh, and then a smaller portion in Warboss green. You can tell where I got my greens from, can't you? Painting orcs. And then a small part, a little dot of Avalanche Sunset, and then a dot of white in the opposite corner. You can see I've already done that one for that kind of effect. So we're going to do that on this one, but in red. Okay, so let's make a start. So first, Abaddon black. I just want to paint that entire lens black. And then paint across the middle of the lens, trying to leave a line of the black around it. Like so. Same this side. So now I'm going to paint just this front half really, in a thinner line if possible. Not a lot at all. Same this side. Just the front half of it. Okie dokie. So this is even smaller in the front part of the eye. Kind of thing, just a small, almost a small dot really. And this just wants to go right in the opposite corner, just a small tiny dot of it. Take time. Oh, it's a bit much. Don't worry about that, we'll neaten that up in a minute. I'll show you how. And same again. It's hard to get in at this angle. There we go, that kind of thing. Right, and if you make any mistakes, you use, obviously you can go back within the colours, but like around the lens there where I've got a bit too much white, I'm going to go round the eye with some Black Templar contrast. You can use Null Oil as well, but this is, I think, a little bit better because it's got such a really, it's a lot more pigment in it. So just put some of that on the palette. Make sure it's nice and thin. Touch of water. Not too much on your brush, you don't want to get out of control. And then I just dab it along the edge of the lens, let it pool at the bottom. It's like eyeliner. And it just gives it a nice line around the lens. Just let it pool in. Maybe that looks much better straight away. Usually put a bit on over the nose there. Just like that, just run it in. With the old eyeliner on. I'll just let that dry and put another coat on, and that's it. Cool looking lens effect. And that's the model done, really. Paint wise, it's all the highlighting's done as far as I want to go with a troop choice. So the next stage is basing and the transfers. I'm going to do the transfers in a separate video, show how I do them, what I use. And then for basing, I just use whatever I've got. To be honest, something that adds like a sort of dirt effect. So the one I've got lying around at the minute is Armageddon Dust. It's the wrong colour. I usually use the browner version, I can't remember what it's called, but I've run out of that. So I'll just paint some of that on, like that. So it's more of a deserty, sandy colour, so I paint that on. Using an old brush or something like that, and then I'll paint it Steel Legion Drab to make it more of a soily brown colour. Agrax shade it. Once that's dry, I'll dry brush over with Flayed One Flesh or something like that, like a creamy sort of colour. And then after that, it should look something like that, really. Like that, really. Fairly simple, but it's effective. And then a little tuft of grass here or there, and a black rim, and we're done. And there we go. A nice easy way of painting some Ultramarine troops. If you like the video, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.